Welcome to the Jenleeion Circle. I'm Mario Bonds. I'm really excited about the guest that we have today. We have interesting topics that I'd like to cover with her. First of all, she's very recognizable. She's an American businesswoman and a reality TV star and an entrepreneur. She's best known for her portrayal of herself on the Love and Hip-Hop Atlanta show. Join us in welcoming Mimi Faust to the Jenleeion Circle this evening. First of all, Mimi, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
You said that fantastic with a huge smile in your voice, so that means you're not lying. You're definitely doing fantastic.
I am. It's been a very let me choose my words wisely because I've been doing that lately. It's been a very enlightening year.
Enlightening year, you said?
Yes. Very
how so? That's a fantastic statement. Tell me, how so?
I've just been, my reality and where I'm at right now in life has just been resonating very well with my spirit, and it's been very enlightening. I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's excellent because you finding this to be an enlightening year. You've come from, if I can touch, I first want to touch on some of the adversities that you faced because I personally went through a lot of adversity, and you grew up with an interesting story. So this year being enlightening, resonating with your spirit, I'd like to talk about your journey to getting to that freedom of mind, to say that you're feeling enlightening and it's resonating with your spirit. First of all, to your childhood, right?
Yeah.
You were raised by a single mother, but your childhood was rather tough. Take us there.
So let's just kind of start at the beginning. Life as I knew it was pretty regular. I lived here in Atlanta with my mother, brother, and sister. We stayed here. We moved from Virginia when I was 3 years old and stayed here till I was about 9 or 10 years old. And one day my mother just picked up and said, I'm moving to LA, I'm joining Scientology, and that was that. My brother was a freshman in college, my sister a senior in high school, and they were like, we're not going to LA, like you're crazy. But I was the baby. I had to go. I didn't have a choice in the matter. And life as I knew it was just completely uprooted. It was just uprooted. And I had to adjust and adapt and get used to things that I had never been around, witnessed, experienced. It was rough. A lot of racism. It was rough. It was rough.
And I find that you found it very difficult being able to acclimate to the new church life that your mom had assumed.
Yes, it was hard. It was hard. I didn't understand it. I didn't want to be there. I didn't like it. It was rough. And at 13, they kicked me out. They said I was a freeloader. They wanted me to sign a billion-year contract to work for them. And they gave me an ultimatum: either sign the contract or you have to get out. And so at 13, I chose to leave.
What do you think gave you the fortitude at 13 years old to say, you know what, I'm ready to choose my own path? Because I don't think a lot of that doesn't normally come at 13. Um, what do you think gave you that fortitude?
I just really think Jesus took the wheel on that one. I don't really have an explanation of where the fortitude came from. I just knew that that was not what I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to do that. The things that I saw there and witnessed and experienced, and I'm like, Mom, if this is what you want to do with your life, fine. It's definitely not what I want to do, and I'm not going to do this. And I left.
Wow. Now, how many years had you been in the Scientology church before you had that mental fortitude to choose your own path?
I was introduced to it around 8 years old. So it had been, my mother got really acclimated with it here in Atlanta. She started going to the missions out here and taking courses and things like that. And my mom kind of, when she got involved with something, she would just go balls to the wall with it. Like, no holds barred. I'm just all in, and she went all in with the Scientology religion and, sold everything we had and moved there. All we had was the clothes on our backs and, you know, and she stayed there. The crazy part is my mom stayed there for 28 years, even after I left. And, that was her thing.
So she finally left herself?
She passed away there. She died of cancer and she was
Wow.
still in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm. Obviously, I was aware of that, but I didn't realize whether or not she had left the church prior to, or.
No.
But that's very interesting. Well, I understand you had the mental fortitude to leave at an appropriate time, but you also had the mental fortitude to know that you had some God-given gift, right? You loved singing. You loved everything to do with the art. At what point did you realize that you were talented, and more importantly, to what degree was your talent a therapeutic outlet for you?
I wouldn't call myself a talented person.
You don't think so?
No, talented. I mean, I'm just okay. Let me rewind. I'm very critical of myself, so
Mhm.
like I wouldn't say, oh my God, I'm so talented. I just when I do something, I do it to like the fullest of my ability and
Well,
things that I
that's
enjoy.
humility. I love that. That's humility.
Like I love to clean. I love to clean. It gives me a sense of peace. It makes me feel good um to take a situation from chaos to not. And
Mm.
I love to do that. So I started the cleaning business um back in 2001, 2001. I was just cleaning for friends and things like that at the time. And I was dating this guy, and he was like, "You're doing this. You're getting paid from it. Like your friends are paying you to do this. Why don't you make it legit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I should do that." So I went and got incorporated and did all that, and literally, started the cleaning business from being at a house party and couldn't take the mess.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. So you had an eye for definitely taking mess and turning it into prowess. Well, I love your humility and modesty, but if we're going back to what we consider to be the very beginning, prior to starting at cleaning services in the '90s, you did appear in a number of music videos, correct?
Yes, I did.
Right. So, with that being said,
You're
yeah.
But you know what? For some reason, and I can't explain it, I've always been in the music industry circle. I've always gravitated towards, or they've gravitated towards me, like they were my friends. I never auditioned for these videos. They would just call me like, "Yo, come down. We need you for this video shoot." So it was always people that I knew that contacted me. I wasn't like, it was just like a television situation. I had a friend reach out to me about love and hip hop. So these things just kind of fall in my lap. I guess I'm really kind of blessed in that manner.
Well, also because of your beauty that even a blind man can see. I guess.
That was sweet. Thank you.
Maybe that's what. Hey, it was sweet, but it better be true. I'm sorry, I cracked myself up. That was funny. So when they called you in 2012 and said, "You know what? Come be on a TV show." What's Mimi's initial response? Is it, "Oh, sure, this is what you guys want to do"? Was it like, how's this going to work? What is your initial response to the idea of joining a reality TV show in 2012? That apparently is going to put everything out there.
Honestly, when I signed up for Love and Hip Hop, I had no idea what I was signing up for. I just
Mm.
honestly did no clue. My friend Hannah Kane, who was TI's general manager at the time, sent me a text and she said, "You and Stevie should go out for the casting of this show." So I was like, okay, that's all she said. And I hit her back. I was like, I need more information. Mind you, this is Monday afternoon. Okay. She says
Mm.
Wednesday for Mansion Hotel. That's the gist of the information she gave. So I'm like, okay. So I called Stevie. He was not trying to hear any of that. He,
Girl, what you talking about? Shut
yeah,
it.
he was not trying to hear any of that. The crazy part is he's upstairs right now with my daughter, which is bizarre. But I'm going to tell the story anyway.
You do your thing. Do your thing. Do your interview, Mimi. You
I'm
can
just
make
telling the
it.
story. And he went off on me, cussed me out. Fuck yeah. So I'm like, yo, put the gun away. Like, why are you so hostile? I'm just proposing an idea. He didn't want to hear it. He was, So we said our negative words and we got off the phone. We didn't speak for any more for like those next. I'm just going to go down there and see what they're talking about. The show is about women. Anyway, you go down there, half of Atlanta is in the lobby. That's how many people showed up for the casting of Love and Hip Hop. And through all of these sea of people, when I walked through the door, who is sitting there with bells on? Beat me there. And I'm like, huh. Walked up to him and I'm like, thought you weren't going to do this, yada, yada, yada. We had a whole argument right there in the lobby. It wasn't loud, but you could tell it was a problem. It was a lot of neck rolling and finger pointing and,
Well, then were y'all rehearsing?
No, this was for real. I really was cussing him out, and he was really cussing me. It was for real.
You promised it wasn't. It wasn't a rehearsal for. It wasn't foreshadowing for the show.
No, I didn't even know what they wanted. I had no idea what the show even wanted. So us having this exchange was just a for real exchange between him and I. And one of the producers saw us and asked us to come here, took us upstairs, and was like, sat us down in these two chairs, and there's all these like people behind this table, and they were looking at us. And they said, "So tell us about yourselves." And Stevie just turns into a saint. All of a sudden, he starts talking about the moon and the stars and when the planets align. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me right now. You just got finished calling me everything but a child of God. I want to turn into a saint. I was livid. You hear me? Was livid. So I'm gritting my teeth. I can't even control my face. I'm so angry. My leg is shaking. I'm gritting my teeth. And he just keeps going on with this, planets or whatever. And everybody's looking perplexed. Like, what the hell is he talking about? Nobody knew what he was talking about. All of a sudden, I blurt out, "You want to know the problem?" I said, "The problem is he doesn't know how to come home at night. And when he does, he fucking smells like pussy. Excuse my French."
Yeah.
And when I said that, everybody sat up and was like, "Tell us more." So in that moment, I know Stevie figured out that the show wanted the BS. And when I tell you that man never looked back, he figured it out in that split second. "Oh, y'all want that? Oh, I got a lot of that for you."
Right. In fact, with the success of Love and Hip Hop, Stevie went on to even have some spin-off shows that you obviously appeared in as well. So he definitely brought the heat and brought the fire, huh?
He did. He really did. He did all of that.
Wow. And so now, at this point where you guys are, is you guys are now in a co-parenting posture, correct?
Correct.
I was like,
no, it's going. It's it has its good days and its bad days, like anything else. No,
I'm now in the same position, so that's why I typically ask, because it's some days you have absolute anger. I do, and then some days I don't. And then some days it's like, how did I even get in this? And then some days it's like, well, you're not in it. That's why I asked.
Sometimes I want to roll his head down Peachtree Street. It's just I have days like that some days.
Yeah, well, as long as you don't take any, pointers out of Miss Shirlene's book, you won't be rolling over any dirt bikes or motorcycles, will you?
No. No.
That laugh sounds like you thought about it. Have you?
I have thought about a number of things. Yeah, my thought process, it goes, kind of goes left sometimes when it comes to Stevie.
I understand point taken. And with that being said, but your daughter is definitely the light of your world. Tell me about motherhood. What is the highlight of it?
The highlight is that little girl is the best thing I've ever done with my entire life was have her be her mom, be a witness to her growth and her just who she is as a person. And I say every day, God really gave me what I needed because oh my God, she's so complimentative. She's so just everything that I could ever need. She's that and
Wow.
more. It's incredible. And I'm like, I wonder if everybody else's kids are like this. And I know they're not, because I'm around people's kids and I'm like, oh my God, your kid is, but my kid is great. She's so great. I don't know. And I'm not just saying that because she's mine. She is an exceptional human being. It's incredible to just watch on a daily basis the things that she says, the things that she does, the just who she is as a person is really incredible.
Like
So
are you I would expect that she's a chip off the old block, or is the depth of her grace, does some of it definitely does surprise you?
some of it surprises me as young as she is. I was not that in tuned when I was her age. I was
Mm.
not that enlightened when I was her age. There's so many things that she's 11 that I didn't even get till I was an adult that she already has and gets now at 11 years old. It's incredible. And I mean, maybe it's because of my nurturing. I don't know, but it is. She's an amazing human being. I can't say it enough.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. I think it would be a testament of the nurturing. If kids grow up without nurturing, obviously there can be an issue. I believe, and I talk to everyone about this. Every child deserves to feel the sense of belonging, which is why I ended up adopting 4 kids, unplanned. I plan on having some biological kids too, but every kid, you know, deserves that sense of belonging. And I respectfully ask, because you, even in your own childhood, you have an interesting story, um, in the road to getting to your biological father, right?
Mhm.
Tell the audience about that.
So my whole life growing up, I assumed that my father was my brother and sister's father. My mother was married. Um, my brother's 8 years older than me, my sister's 6 years older than me, and I was the baby. So I assumed that this was my dad. Wasn't until I was 16 years old that I realized that guy was not my dad. I ended up going to my sister's graduation, and I hadn't seen the guy that I thought was my dad in 8 years. Okay.
Mm, yeah.
When my mom moved to Scientology, we just lost all contact. And I would ask her, where's my dad? How's my dad? And she would always make up an excuse about him, but never told me the truth.
Mm,
So I get down to the graduation, I see him, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm bawling, crying, Daddy. I run up to him. I see him way down the football field. I grab him, I hug him, I'm crying. And he didn't embrace me. He just kind of let me hug him and he kind of like patted me on my head like a pet. And he said,
mm.
Mom, you got taller. That split second that those words came out of his mouth, I knew for a fact that he was not my father. So the entire weekend, I had to
E-
sit with this.
Even no hints or anything. That was just something something you felt.
What? How are you going to see your daughter that you haven't seen in 8 years and pat her on the head and say, Ma, you got taller? That's not something a father is going to do. I don't care. It's not going to, it's just not. So when he did that, those actions, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was not my father. So I sat with this the entire weekend. We were at my sister's graduation. When I got back to California, I went straight up to my mother's office and I said, who is my dad? Because that man's not my dad. My
Wow.
mother then wrote down on a piece of paper a name and a phone number. She slid it over to me and she said, here's your dad's information. You can call him if you like. Just like that. I'm like, really? I was
Mm.
really at her, but I walked out of the office and I called my father immediately.
So
And
he answers the phone, and is your voice caught in your throat at this moment, or are you just ready
yes,
to bulldoze into it?
my voice was caught. I didn't really know what to say, but I knew I had to get it out. And I said, "This is, Mimi. My mom just gave me your numbers. She says you're my dad." And it was just the most. He embraced me even over the phone, like a parent would. Even over the phone, he embraced me in such a way that
What
I
did that
knew.
do? What did that do to you? How did that make you feel in that moment?
Oh my God, I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with just all sorts of feelings. It was kind of incredible.
How much time did you get to spend with your father before he passed, your biological father?
A lot. I would go to Northville. He lived upstate New York in a small little mountain town. And with him and his wife, Miriam, I would go up there every summer. And we spent a lot of time together. I talked to him all the time, called each other all the time. He was always giving me like the best advice. I spent a lot of time with him. Spent a lot of
Uh,
time with him. My dad was he was a cool dude.
yeah, and your father was an artist, was he not?
Yes, he was. He was an amazing artist, actually. He would do wood and metal sculptures, just anything he could get his hands on. Huge stuff. He had an art park called the Faust Art Park where he lived, and he had art hanging from trees and just, mounted in the ground. And it was really incredible.
Now, forgiveness is an incredible theme. It's a powerful theme.
Yes.
Done right, it can be very freeing and give
Mm-hmm.
someone an excellent source of mental liberty. But if not done, it could unforgiveness can serve as a mental prison. So I say that
Yes.
to ask this: when did you get to a point to forgive your mom, and how long did you resent her for withholding such information from you? And it seemed that she treated it cavalierly. When did you find the
Mm-hmm.
grace to forgive your mom?
Um, my mom and I had a conversation for the very first time about even her joining Scientology and uprooting my life and everything that I went through at 27 years old. Okay. Was the first time we even had a discussion about it. And I was so angry at the time that, and this might be wrong, but I just lashed out at her. I lashed out at her so bad. I cursed my mom like she was just a bum on the street. That's how
I
hard
call that a therapeutic break. You know, you had a therapeutic break.
it was definitely a break. It was
Yeah.
definitely a break. Um, I had to realize and understand that my mother being in Scientology, um, there was a little shift. Let me even not sugarcoat this. My mother was brainwashed. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. She was so gone with that situation. She was brainwashed. Let's just keep it real. And so when we were discussing it, she really had the nerve to say to me, "Oh, I didn't know you felt this way, or I had no idea that any of this bothered you, or what?" And I'm like, but I had to sit and realize if you're not at your full mental capacity and you're not functioning on all cylinders, then yes, you might think these things, you might feel this way. So my forgiveness didn't come until she was passing away. After everything that my mother and I went through, I was the child that was there by her side when she died. I
Mm.
held her hand when
Did
she
you
took her last.
did you tell her that you forgave her?
I did. I told her I forgave her. I told her just She was so, let me tell you how hard my mom was. She was trying to recite a poem to me, and the poem was called If, which, if you look it up, it's about a man and a son. And I think the father had wronged his son, and he was, the poem is about forgiveness. She was trying to recite this poem to me, but her body was breaking down, and it took her like 2 hours to get it out. She's gurgling, and her breathing was erratic. It was horrible.
Mm.
But she had, instead of her just saying, I'm sorry, she went through all of this painstaking 2 hours while she's dying to recite a whole poem instead of just saying, I'm sorry. That was my mom. Just to
Wow.
give you a nutshell of how hard my mom was.
That
And I
leads me,
told her,
yeah,
Mom,
go
I
ahead.
forgive you. Have to forgive you. I forgive you. Let it go. Just let it go. Like I want you, I don't want you to leave this life with this burden on your back or your shoulders or whatever. Just
Have you
relax.
been free since, Mimi? Since you did that, since that moment?
I, I really have. It was it was probably the best thing that I one of the best things that I did was forgive her. And then I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for being so angry and harboring all of that emotion and carrying that with me for years. Yeah, it's been a lot. And you know what? I'm jumping a little bit, but I started therapy, which is probably one of the another best thing that I've done in my life was start therapy, because I did not realize how much baggage I was holding on to, how much anger, how much stuff from my past that I had just shoved away into an attic that I just hadn't dealt with. You got to deal with that stuff. You have to deal with your childhood traumas. You have to deal with things that happen to you. You can't just push to the side and act like it didn't happen. Oh, it happened. You got to deal with it at some point.
Absolutely, it was real. So your brother and sister, obviously,
Mhm.
you got out. Did brother and sister stay in until they got 18 years old? Because I think it's a monumental moment that, you know, they would have called you wayward, right? People would have called you wayward, the fact that you escaped, but you weren't wayward. But the would-be wayward daughter was there at the end.
Right.
What happened with your
Well,
brother and sister?
my brother and sister never went. When my mother left, I went with her.
Mm.
My brother, he was in college. He was a freshman, so he was squared away at the dorms in college. And my sister was a senior in high school, and she stayed with a friend. They never had the experience that I had, ever. They didn't even know anything I was going through. I was the only one that was going through all of this, and I was the baby.
Wow. Did your brother and sister ever show appreciation for your story? Did you ever share? At what point did you share some of this stuff with them? And was it, damn, sis, I'm sure sorry you went through all that.
Yeah, yeah. I shared, but I never really got into depth with them about it. At the time when I was able to share, it was so painful that I just liked
Absolutely.
to touch on it, and I didn't want to go deep with it. But they did say, well, I wish I would have known, or, they did say those words to me. Yes.
I see. Where were they when your mother was dying, though?
I don't know. They were living their lives. I think my brother came down to visit one time. My mother ended up being in hospice for like 2, 3 months, and my brother came down once to visit, and my sister did come down once. But my sister had a job, a corporate job. She couldn't just stay down there for months. Me, I own my own business and stuff. I was moving around, so it was easier for me to be there for a long period of time. So, and I had friends there in LA because I had lived there for so many years with my mother. So it was easier for me to maneuver. I never faulted them for not, being there or whatever. They did what they could.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for being so candid and respectfully. I thank you for answering those questions because it's important. One of the things that we love to highlight here is perseverance, right? Some of those things that you've described would have arguably, but justifiably, made someone either lose their mind or to not have hope. But as you started this conversation, you said that you're feeling enlightened. It's really resonating with your spirit this particular year. So your soul is whole, and I think it's fantastic to see that.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things that we deal with here is acceptance and the context of a theme. I am human too. We're big on anti-bullying. We believe that discrimination is a bigger word for bullying. Racism is a bigger word for bullying, so to speak. So before I share a video clip with you, you mentioned racism a lot earlier. Your experience with racism in this country has included what?
Um, when I first got to the Scientology building, my mom and I were one of very few Black people there. There weren't that many Black people there. And I was like one of the only Black children that were there. And I would get called nigger, stupid Black nigger, jigaboo, tar baby, any racial slur, they would spit at me. Any racial slur you can think of that someone could call an African American, they did it to me. And I'm light skinned. So, and I never experienced racism before. So I'm like, what? I just didn't understand it. I couldn't grasp it. I would just cry and cry. Like, I never experienced that before. So to just get
Yeah.
somewhere, have it thrown at you daily, every day,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, that speaks to me. Obviously, it's funny. I tell people all the time, I'm 33 now, and people love me now for everything that I was picked on for as a kid. As a kid, I was told I was too Black, too chocolate, too this, too that. And it shook my self-esteem so that when I did become of age and all of a sudden the world is saying I'm beautiful and I'm attractive and you're so this, you're so that, I always thought, I was so damaged that I thought it was like a backwards compliment. You know what I mean? What kids can do and kids say are really damaging and can give you complexes. Now I don't care because, one person say I'm ugly, 100 people say I'm beautiful, but it's still a difficult thing. And one of the things I want people to do is to treat everyone as human. So I'm going to play a clip for you, and then I'd like to talk about the theme of it on the other side before we close tonight.
Forward, not backward. No, we can't afford to let love be destroyed. So close your eyes, dare to take my hand, take a seat with me, and feel I'm human and I belong here. Yes, I belong here. I am human too, and I bleed just like you. I have feelings and dreams and a heart that does beat. Sometimes I get scared and these eyes do cry tears, but you could dry my eyes if you act like I'm human. Hey, see me as human too. Black or white, woman or man, whether gay or straight, we should let love conquer hate. So close your eyes and dare to take my hand, and take a seat with me and feel I'm human and I belong here. Yes, just like you. I have feelings and dreams and a heart that does beat. And sometimes I get scared and these eyes do cry tears. But you could dry my eyes if you act like I'm human. I am human too, and I breathe just like you. I have feelings and things that I do want to achieve. When fear is alive, oh, these eyes, they do cry. But you could dry my eyes if you act like I'm human. Act like I'm human. Hey, see me as human too. Act like I'm human. Act like I'm human. See me as human too.
Deep. That that's one of my worst fears that I have for my daughter, because I can protect her in my home, but when she steps out into the world, I don't know what she'll get because of her parents, who her parents are, what people will say to her, do to her. And it's one of my biggest fears.
Well, I share that fear from my sons, even from my sons who, because we're now living in a situation where young black men are shot even when doing the right thing, or they go to school and bullying is just increased. And we look at, you got kids as young as 10 years old killing themselves because someone robbed them of their self-worth. So to you, I am human too. What does that phrase mean?
It means treat me and respect me how you would treat your mom, your grandmother, someone in your family. That's what it means. Like if we get cut, I don't care what color you are, we all bleed the same. It's all red. We have the same organs. It's all the same. The only thing that's different is the exterior. So people judging people on their skin color or the way they look, to me, it's just asinine. It's the most ridiculous thing. I can't even comprehend it.
Yeah, I agree. Now, on a lighter note, you are also into health and fitness.
Yes.
Yes. So when did that become important to you? It's important to me. So honestly, I had to put on my Mimi shirt to show up. That like I know how to live good. I know how to live better, Mimi. So tell me about that. How important that is for you and your advocacy for it.
I just think I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with the food that we eat. Let's just start with food. From birth, when they start giving us milk and things like that, and so many things, and the propaganda behind it, telling us that milk does the body good and X, Y, and Z, it's all not true. And
because milk is designed with a lot of calories to help a baby cow go from a baby cow to a 2,000-pound animal, right?
What other mammal drinks from another mammal? Only us. A goat doesn't drink from a cow, or the cow doesn't drink from a goat. We are the only ones that will drink milk from another species. We're the only ones that do this, okay? Milk is not designed, especially for Black people, it's not designed for us. Milk breaks our bones, it breaks everything down. It does the opposite of what they say milk is supposed to do. It's so crazy. People have to really get educated about the food that we eat. It's so important. So important.
You should just go around asking people, Are you a baby cow? They gonna say, what? You say, well, yeah. Are you a
Or
baby?
giving your baby milk. But it's all by design. If they get you hooked on bad foods now growing up and you eat it and you eat it, then you're gonna get sick eventually. When you get sick, you're gonna have to take the medication. When you take the medication, you have to go to the doctor. It's a cycle of pay. It's listen, I'm not a
Yeah.
conspiracy theorist, but I'm knowledgeable on a lot of different aspects on America and how they do things. And it's not always in our best interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's a machine, and I think the good part is that COVID-19 exposed a lot of it to where even in the mainstream media, they finally had to start talking about it, the disparity in both food and access to adequate services and all of that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that it's just so glaring. So you'll be proud to know that I'm a vegan, right?
Okay.
Um, I've been contrary to what people believe, that it is possible to be a vegan and still be muscular and get all of the correct nutrients. And I'm of the same mind that you are, that, gee, why? And the thing, I came from Ben and Jerry's is my favorite. I'm not knocking. Y'all do taste good. Lord have mercy. Oh, oh, God, I hear you talking. But I realized that there were healthier alternatives than what they were giving. So that's fantastic. And then for your fitness piece of it, take me there. How often does Mimi work out?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you something really crazy. My uh, the way my body is set up is pretty much genetics.
You woke up
I
like that. You keep waking up like that.
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm so serious. I do have a trainer, but I really don't work out that much, and it doesn't take me long. Like if I would go hard for 3 weeks straight, I would be a beast. So I just do light work. I just like to stay toned. I don't want to be a rock. I don't want to be a rock. So I just like to stay toned and do a lot of cardio and things like that. I have my core things that I want to keep tight, and so
Yeah,
I work on those things with my trainer.
I do the same thing. But so everybody, definitely take heed that if you want to look really good and tone and tight, you need to do the bare minimum and eat lots of Snickers. That's important. Well, I will say that Mimi graced the cover of Jenleeion.
We had so much fun at the shoot. We had like I felt like I've known them for years. That's how good we gelled together.
Obviously, no one needs to be told, but just in case they've been living under a rock, tell them where they can follow you on Instagram.
Okay, so my Instagram is Mimi Faust. Keep it very simple. My Facebook, I just got my Facebook page back. It has been hacked for the past 3 years. Just got it back, but it's official Mimi Faust. I have a Snapchat, but I rarely use it. It's I am Mimi Faust. And yeah.
Again, follow her on Instagram at Mimi Faust. And again, check out her cover of the Jenleeion magazine. And I want to thank you guys so much for joining us this afternoon. Again, good conversation. She's a woman of perseverance, a woman of personality. Thank you so much. I'm Mario Bonds, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Does anyone still believe in paradise?